had put in to speak at our conference, that was the way I was thinking. And then I thought it can't be true. And then I found out that it wasn't true. So that's Steve Harvey, who wanted to be a rock star. So he aimed for rock stardom, and what he hit was something else, not rock stardom. So he's here to help us understand learning through laughter and levity. And I know we're all going to have an application as we move forward. Please welcome Steve Harvey.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's very nice. As you can probably tell, I'm not the real Steve. And I've just put that on my slides just to confirm that as well. But I'm really, really super excited to be here in America. It's been a long time. I have been here a few times. I love it. I love coming here. It's brilliant. I love seeing you all. You all look amazing. And I'm from Australia, and everybody looks amazing in Australia. So it's really cool. I just want to smash an assumption though. Somebody said to me, "Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing you doing 30 minutes of stand-up comedy." That's not happening. All right. I normally do about 7 or 8 minutes. That's my maximum, and that's what I'll do. But yeah, like I say, really excited to be here. And yeah, we'll have some fun. You look like you're up for fun, right? So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Now, I'm missing someone very special's birthday because I'm here with you. So it's my daughter, Isla. She's in Brisbane, and she has already said to me, "Dad, where are you?" And I says, "Oh, I'm in Las Vegas." She says, "Well, they've got malls here. They've got malls there. Can you get me that?" And I'm saying, "Isla, have you seen the exchange rate? I'm not spending my Aussie dollars here." Now, I always try and look for a connection whenever I speak somewhere between the mother country. Actually, I should call that out right away, actually. I am from Australia, but you might have noticed there's something a bit different about my Australian accent compared to most. So I'm originally from Glasgow, and I went to Australia for basically, I went for a year. I thought I'll go for a year and see how we go. 21 years later, I haven't left. All right, I love it. I'm very lucky to live there. So I always try and look for a connection between the place I'm at and the mother country. So I couldn't put gambling and alcohol as that connection because that's too easy, right? So what I found was one of my Scottish heroes, Sean Connery, he filmed a movie called Diamonds Are Forever here in Nevada. That movie hasn't aged well, has it? Have you watched it? I watched it in the plane coming over. I was like, oh my God, maybe I should take the Sean Connery thing out. But Sean Connery was the guy that added humour to the James Bond character. And that's a legacy he's left, obviously. It's such an important, it brings that character, it makes that character human, I suppose, even though he's like a trained killer. But really, it's but if humour's good enough for James Bond, then it's good enough for me. All right, so there's where I'm from. I'm from, like I say, Brisbane in Australia. I love it. Been there. I moved to Sydney originally and then made my way up to Brisbane. But I was at a dilemma a couple of years ago. I had studied at Griffith Uni under Professor Decker, Yop, and Drew Ray and all those guys. I'd finished that study. I'd done Safety Futures with Dave, which is amazing. If you haven't done that, have a crack at it. It's brilliant. I've done the New View training. I've done Southpack, Hop training, you name it. I've done most of the Newer View type contemporary training that there is to do, but I needed something else. So what can I do? So I thought about, I might do human factors. I might do psychology. I might do marketing because I started developing an interest in marketing. And I thought, how can I sell safety a bit better than what I was doing? But my mind went back to 2019 and I went to Sydney, and Sydney produced one of those spectacular days that only Sydney can. With a beautiful blue sky. The harbour was alive with people and boats. It was amazing. And I had saw Brené Brown in Sydney, and she said this amazing thing. Two amazing things actually that have stayed with me that time. The future belongs to the curious. But she also said another thing that's never left me. She'd done work in Silicon Valley. This is 2019. And she said that AI was coming and it was going to take our jobs, but it could never replace humour or connection. So I was like, All right, okay, that's amazing. AI is having a red hot crack at replacing humour, right? Because I'm watching it, I see lots of stuff that people are creating. So we've got to try and get better at that. Here's me at my first ever comedy gig. And you haven't put presenter mode on, so I might miss some of my notes. All right, I've just got me up in the screen there. But that at that time, that was the scariest experience of my entire life. All right. I walked out in the stage, I got up there, walked out in the stage, and in the front row, there was all my mates. And it was terrifying. Honestly, it was like an experience I've never ever had before. So I was scrolling through Facebook. When, like I say, I was talking through, I needed something to study. I'm permanently studying something. I always like to learn, right? I'm constantly reading and learning. And I was scrolling through Facebook and I seen this comedy class. I thought, oh, I might as well give it a go. And obviously I'm Scottish. I've obviously got a bit of Irish in me. So people have always said to me, oh, you're quite naturally funny. And I thought that should see me through. That should make me confident enough to do this. But I tell you what I learned, even the most boring people can be funny. You can be trained to be funny. That's what I've learned. But you just need to keep using it and harnessing those sort of skills. So yeah, like I say, even the most I've done some stand-up where people have totally died. And then you see these other guys that you can tell they've been honed and you can tell they've practiced a lot. And unfortunately for you, if you really take in and look at some of this stuff that I'm going to teach you, I'm going to ruin comedy forever for you. All right. Because you'll know when the jokes are coming. It's funny, I was out for dinner with the guys the other night there, and they put a video on, and it was obviously a comedy video. And I knew when the joke was coming, and I'd never seen it before or heard it. So comedy's kind of ruined for me now because I know all the sort of all the techie stuff that they do. All right. So what are the benefits of using humour in work? There is tons and tons and tons of them. All right. But I put these up there because they're the ones that are really applicable to us for the safety professionals, right? Particularly the acceptance of ideas. What's really surprised me actually is the amazing amount of research and books and storytelling books there is on humour. I'm telling you, it's absolutely fascinating. It's actually I'm looking at all these books down here. I've basically read them all. So I'm now moving into how can I get better at this stuff? And so that's why I'm looking at the comedy research and the humour research. So much of it is fascinating. I'd really encourage you to have a look at it and have a read. But one of the things that I've really found and what's really surprised me is how it brings people together and it just connects you. You know, it's just if you have a bit of fun in a room, I'm telling you, everybody's sparking and firing, and I love it. But we really have to train ourselves to do it. And humour can be a bit risky. And there's a slide that I've got where I talk about that as well. But don't be scared to have a crack. But honestly, give it a shot. Storytelling. Now, every presentation that I've seen over the past couple of days has talked about storytelling and its importance. When I trained in stand-up, they really enforced that importance as well. But I'm only going to, because everyone keeps talking about storytelling, I'm just going to talk about two things on this. Like the use of metaphor. Somebody posted on LinkedIn, and I don't know who it was, but they talked about how they're going to make an impact is like a meteor striking the earth. Brilliant. I use metaphors because of my training. I use metaphors all the time, and I find it gets me greater success for leaders when I start talking to them and they can picture the things in their brain, and that's what we do, right? So really, really that use of metaphors, I'd really encourage you. Rob Fisher talked about the uneven, wonky table. I think it was Brent or Jeff talked about once you've learned these sort of newer view concepts, it's like being an uncaged chicken. You get back, like you will never go back in your cage ever again. And I agree with that. And there was another guy yesterday who talked about his handwriting being like a quadriplegic ostrich. So you get that image in your head, right? You know, it's really, but we love our use of metaphors, and I actually don't think we use them a lot. So it's something I'd really encourage you to do as well. Everyone has an amazing story to tell, they just don't tell it well. I really want you to try and think about how we can do this, right? Now I've put there, make the numbers tell the story. I work with a lot of engineers, process safety guys and accountants, they love numbers and they love colours. Me, I don't love colours and I don't love numbers. So I was like, how can I make these numbers count? So I've got a book recommendation for you. There's a book called Making the Numbers Count. So I read that and it gives you heaps and heaps of examples of how you can turn data and stats into stories that are digestible for these people who love the numbers and colours. I've used it a couple of times and I've seen the brain pop. And it's brilliant. So that's I've got heaps of book recommendations, but that's definitely one that will help you get over that sort of side. But really, when it comes to storytelling, you know, like the facts will fade. I've got the notice there. The data gets dumped, but the stories will stick, and they really do stick. So it's so much literature, so many amazing books, so many YouTube clips, so many podcasts on storytelling. And it's something that I'm really trying to work pretty hard on and get better at. And I kind of feel like people are starting to say to me now, oh, your safety stories are really good. And I'm like, oh, thanks very much. That's cool. Yeah. So everyone's got a safety story to tell. I've also noticed that you've given me an extra 15 minutes, by the way, guys. So that's good, because that just means I can chat for a bit. Right. It's funny because it's true. Right. I'm going to put a couple of slides up to emphasize this point in a second. But we all lament together. We all lament together. So we're always looking for things that are that we can sort of share and talk about how bad life is, how terrible things are, right? And it is literally all around you. You can ask, like, the guys have got the great 4D questions where you can sort of unpack some of that stuff that people hate. And then you can start making some humour with it. And I'm going to show you a couple of slides of where I've done that and I've created some stories about it. But some of the things, I'm a constant writer, and you might see me on my phone stealing ideas from you. So if you guys say something funny, it's a fair chance I'm stealing it and taking it to Australia. All right. Jeff Liff, he was there. I got one of his. He was talking yesterday. He said something funny. I know, I can't believe it myself. Jeff saying something funny. So I stole it, and I thought, that's come back to Australia, and I'm claiming that. All right. But for me, like, one of the things that I love doing when I get in my creative mode is I go outside and I just go for a walk. So you probably see me walking in the morning or nighttime with my phone, just like terribly unsafe, I know, but I do it. Again, it's like, say, keep a notepad handy, but I just use my phone or I talk into my memes and that sort of stuff. But honestly, I have got years and years worth of stories, and occasionally I will just look back through them. And particularly if I'm doing something like this, and I'll be like, oh, keep that, I'll talk about that. So comedians never talk off the cuff, believe me. Like if you see me perform, you go, oh wow, he's like done that. Or like he's done that really fluently. But I've practiced that hundreds of times in the mirror to my dogs, right? I'm constantly practicing to try and get my comedy right, and it's hard. All right, here's an example of a couple of memes that I created. All right, we talked about this stuff today. I've heard people talk about safety's golden rules, right? It's true, right? Workers try to get the job done. There's a guy behind them try to smash him over the head, and the stop work policy. So I created these and I posted them around the office just to annoy people. But it creates conversation though, because particularly the stop work bit, because people always, the guys, the three boys talked about it today, the stop work stuff, and I like to. I put that up there to try and generate the conversation with the team, saying, hey, what does that really look like to you? How do you show up when we talk about stop work? How do you respond? How do you react if somebody stops the job? It's something that we've probably not great. I've always felt that when it comes to stop work, people don't go headlong into their death. And it's something that annoys me a lot. But this next slide as well, is contractor stuff. I don't know if you do it the same way as what we do in Australia when it comes to asking for like numbers of injuries, first aid events. Why are you taking this on? Why are you doing this? So like 0 injuries in 7 years. Welcome aboard. We'd love to have you. And you've got a trip for a living, or you won't be killing people here. So I brought these memes into a conversation about our contractor work, because we were asking for first aid injuries. We were asking for, stuff that wasn't really that important. And I said, we need to change this. We need to make it better. And that one there, that just made me laugh because these guys were asking for how many lost time injuries have we had? And I was like, who cares, man? Like, don't get excited about it. It's just rubbish. I'm going to show you a little video now of something I created, just for a bit of a laugh. Now that last one, that's very deliberate. Oh man, we get distracted with this stuff, don't we? Like knives and scrapers and all that stuff. I was doing a wee bit of work with Clive Lloyd. You probably know Clive. I've seen his books. I'm sure I've seen his book somewhere. So Clive asked me to come and help him, and we were talking to this company, and they'd banned people under 21 using knives. And so I was like, do you let them drink alcohol? I was like, yeah. Do you let them drive cars? Yeah. All right. People just don't realize the stupidity of what we're doing. And in my own, because I've got a full-time gig in an oil and gas company in Brisbane. And sometimes we get distracted by rubbish as well. So that's my excuse to bring stuff like that out. Just say, let's not get into this. Let's not get dragged into this stuff. Focus on the stuff that's really, really important. Let's say, I just kind of feel like it just becomes a big distraction and it's just annoying, right? But that video, I actually posted that on LinkedIn, and it shows you that people are craving fun and people are craving humor, right? So that's that. I got 21,000 impressions for that little video. I posted another video. I was going to bring that too, but I didn't know how it would go, to be honest. But I put it on LinkedIn, and it got nearly 30,000 impressions. So a lot of people are looking at it. A lot of people are craving that sort of different approach. And then I posted about how excited and petrified I was about coming to America to talk to you. 1,500 impressions. Ugh. I was a bit disappointed in that, to be honest. I thought I got a wee bit more. But it just goes to show you, right? People are craving this wee bits of excitement and something a wee bit different. All right, I'm going to chat to you about the rule of three. I've heard the rule of three a few times now today. Rob Fisher's the man for the rule of three. So the rule of three is that our brain is absolutely hardwired for patterns, and three is the lowest pattern that it can sort of take on, right? So think about some of the classic fairy tales that we've got. What was the one that Ron and Dave were talking about? Was it the baker, the candlestick maker, or something like that? That's a classic, right? That's a classic story. There's obviously Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the genie granting 3 wishes. There's Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Well, we're in Vegas there, I better not say it. It just appear and go mental. But there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Can you imagine if it was the good, the bad, the handsome, and the ugly, right? It just doesn't work. It's just not got the same ring. But it's everywhere. I promise you, if you're not really aware of this, and you maybe are, but it's absolutely everywhere. You'll start to see it all over the place. Advertisers use it, and it creates that nice and easy pattern. It makes it memorable, and it just works really, really well. And I use it a lot. I've got a wee example later in that too. It's probably the only rule that I like when it comes to safety. All right, but talking about safety. So here's some of the stuff that you might see when the metrics are green, the incidents are lean, the audits are clean. Mindset, skill set, tool set. Blame, shame, and retrain is a favourite of ours, isn't it? Knowledge, I saw this one from Rob, knowledge, language, behaviour. Fostering community, elevating learning, embracing purpose. But I put that 3 points of contact there because I want to tell you a great story. So I was, as we all do, I was in the office descending the stairs with a coffee cup. And this lad says to me, Steve Harvey, of all people, you should know better. Put your hand on the rail. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to take this conversation on. So I was like, all right, tell me, how can I hold that handrail and have 3 points of contact all the way down? Your eyes, Steve. Your eyes are the third point of contact. I had nothing. I was just like, okay. But it's really funny. I was like, oh, that was me told. But again, it's just madness, right? Some of the things that we'll do. I run with my great mate, Josh Bryant, whose name's been mentioned a couple of times today. We run the Brisbane Safety Differently book club. The book, it's more like a boozing club, if I'm being totally honest. We have a great time. But I wanted to share a little video of me kind of using the rule of three. I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe. But these guys here, they're absolute friends of ours. They need no introduction, but they're bloody getting one, right? The dynamic duo, the Batman.
You are
The Lennon and McCartney of learning. And the Bert and Ernie of playing.
I love it.
Told you could hear your laugh, Georgina. Yeah, so that was Brent. Sorry, I couldn't not have that one in there. That was a very good one. And this is just to my friend Brent. All right, you cannot be mad at someone who makes you laugh. But in comedy, we use a different kind of rule. We sort of use this. It's called like the comic triple, where you take someone on sort of a bit of an adventure. And I'll talk you through what I mean. So you sort of establish, you reinforce, and you create this surprise. So where's my health and HSE people here? HSE? Who's all HSE? You know, like health, safety, empty garbage. Right. Everyone's heard of safety 2, safety 1 and safety 2. All right. We've got safety 4. That one didn't work. That one wasn't good. So I did think about changing that, but I thought, oh, I can't be bothered. They'll get the idea and what I'm talking about. But then there's my favourite, the Scottish delicatessen, Scottish delicacy, sorry. So we haggis, black pudding, deep fried pizza. Have you ever had a deep fried pizza, my friend? Oh, you've never had a deep fried pizza? Oh my God, it would change your life. Or it will rapidly accelerate the end of it. All right. But that's why I had to leave Scotland. I was just loving all this bad food. It's really bad for him. I've got a little quote from a famous Scottish-American industrialist. So even he used comedy. That's good. It's good. He's up there. He talked about having problems with sunscreen. Yeah, I feel your pain, mate. I feel, oh man, that's showing. See outside now, I'm just like covering up. And Rob Fisher's been carrying me around for the past couple of days, and he's taken me to all these places, and I've been burnt, and I was like, oh, I never learn. You know, my white Scottish skin just can't cope. And what was the other callback I was going to use? I've forgotten the other callback, so I'm going to have to go back to you quoting Ron. So Ron quoted a guy called Yop Havinga, and I used to work with Yop. In fact, I should have my name on that research paper that he quoted, because I was the one that was taking Yop around the place. So he was getting all these insights. So really annoying. When it came out and it was my boss on there, I was like, what? Actually, talking about that, I should have dropped in too. That some of you guys might recognize my voice, because I was in that Doing Safety Differently video, if you've seen that. The one at the utilities company. I start off at the beginning, then I finish off at the end, and then I'm halfway during it. I get interviewed by Professor Decker, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I was really nervous. But the use of callbacks, this is something I find really successful. Now, when everyone was talking, I was making notes, obviously not hard enough because I've forgotten, right? But I remember like Goods, he talked about sunscreen and you guys laughed. So I thought, I'm taking that on. And there was another one too, and I forget what it was. Oh, geez, it's so annoying. But the really good thing about callbacks, and if you watch comedy and if you go to see comedy at the comedy stores, whatever, you will see the comedians always referring to a joke that they had earlier. Always. Now, I've actually started doing that in the safety calls that we do. I started doing that in our HSE calls. If I hear something, if I get even like a whimper of a laugh, I'm making notes and I'm putting an asterisk against it. And when that call's finished, I will bring it back up again, and it just creates that bonding. But you don't always just need to do it for something that's funny. That's why I wanted to include the stuff that that Ron talked about with Yop. That's amazing research, by the way, and you should check it out. Like I say, I was very lucky to be part of it, and a part of Urban Utilities when we've done all that stuff. So it really, when you do these callbacks, it creates like a group connection. That's everybody will laugh at it. So it's really, if you're in your, have a red hot crack. If you're in a meeting and you hear people talking and you hear a laughter, make a note and bring it up later. Honestly, you'll be the funniest guy or girl in the room, I promise you. Right, brevity is levity. Start with the end in mind. So when I write comedy, I always have my punchline last, and then I start building up the story around it. And then I start cutting it and chopping it and changing it and moving it and getting rid of it. Right? I really do chop it up. I've started doing this with my safety alerts. I've started putting what I want people to know at the very end and started building up the story around it. Sometimes, particularly safety, we are really guilty of putting words in that just don't make sense, and they're too people like we forget we're human sometimes, I think, and I've been guilty of that in the past. But what comedy has really taught me is you can chop words and get rid of them and move them and make everything nice and short. I've actually started using ChatGPT as well. ChatGPT sort of helps me condense those words and make them shorter and makes it. You obviously need to review it and just check it and make sure it makes sense. But honestly, it's something that I kind of feel that, again, it's comedy, and I do a lot of reading, and like I say, reading and studying in comedy. So I'm starting to get a lot better and a lot more confident at chopping my words and getting rid of all that stuff that just doesn't need. So I'm doing it with my safety alerts, like I was saying, and maybe next year I can let you know how I'm going. So try and keep it as nice as short as you can and get to the punchline and leave that punchline at the end, if you fancy having a crack at stand-up comedy. All right, now I really want to make sure that you're alert to this next slide. Really, really super important. There's a fair bit of information on it, and I'm going to change it over quite quickly, but I really want you to sort of be alert to it, right? Because like I say, it's really, really important. How often have you had an amazing bit of information that gets stuck in a slide and nobody knows about it, right? It just gets lost in all the noise. So what I've started doing, and this is where in comedy we talk about the setup and the surprise, the big build-up. We create like an enthusiasm, we create this energy, and then you have your slide like. So I've done this. I want to show you this slide here. And the only reason I wrote frontline workers because I couldn't remember Trent's first name. So I was tasked with, and this is an organisation I'm with just now, to look at removing take fives. And, there's horrible, well, I shouldn't say they're horrible actually, but some people, it's funny, the research says the people that like them the most are the ones that don't need to do them. But, so I went out and surveyed the teams and sort of said, hey, what do you really think of these take five books? And this guy said to me, I only do them because you make me do them, Steve. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And he says, well, I only do that to keep it safe from safety. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. That is definitely worth sharing. So I had a whole bunch of notes together, but I felt that this was so important to share that I kept it as a slide on its own, just to kind of show what an impact the safety team was having. Is that how we were seeing this? People who just policed take five documents? And it's not really true, but if that's people's perception, then that's what we've got to do, and this is what we've got to try and fix. So again, I've used this slide a couple of times when I've been presenting elsewhere, and it really works. So you give it that nice big build up. If you've got something really important to say, give it a nice big build up, and then, you know, like put it up there. So what happens when the funny doesn't work? Happens a lot, by the way. Happens a lot. I'm glad you guys are laughing at some of this stuff. I've been in comedy clubs. It's not too bad for me, actually, like, because I stick to what I know. I talk about being Scottish, being a Scottish Australian. I talk about food. I talk about alcohol. I talk about getting older, and I talk about my kids. So it's nice and safe for me. But some others don't. Some others are off. Like I've actually wanted to go up and give them a cuddle because they just collapse on stage. It's terrible. But sometimes it doesn't land. And I have this rule, sort of like, if it's funny to me, then I'll post it or I'll use it. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, then fair enough. But I really want to share this with you. I was in two minds about this because this is in the past, but this was our safety policy at a company I worked at when we done the Doing Safety Differently documentary. So this is our safety policy, and people hated it. They were like, you guys are not taking safety seriously. And we're like, we do, we really do. But we want to have a bit of fun as well. Fun was really like one of our safety team's values. And when we put that up, some of the frozen middle, they were like, nah, we don't like this. This is terrible. This is not cool. We're not happy about this. So we had to take it down and replace it by a normal sort of, like a normal policy document, which is it's a bit sad. Yeah, I don't really like it. But I think that was the only time I read a safety policy more than once when we had that, because it was a cartoon. It was amazing. So sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. Don't be scared. Take calculated risks. So believe me, you don't want to, particularly in the workplace, if you're going to start using humour in the workplace, take it nice and slow. Just use the callbacks and something. Don't be getting too excited about some of the other stuff that can really cause offence and harm. And like, thankfully, I'm a bit smart. Right, okay, I'm going to introduce you to somebody, or a couple of things that I love a lot. There's Steve, my mate Steve, who I keep getting recognised for. People are asking me for selfies in the street. They see my name and they're like, oh, can I get a selfie? And I'm like, all right. This is Whiskey and Nessie. These are my two dash hounds. I've realised that these are pretty fruitful when it comes to my safety practice. All right, I'm going to show you a wee video.
Okay, girls, you ready for another day of work? Now, looks like you're going to be working on the roof. You're going to be doing some work with the solar panels. So make sure you have an amazing pre-start. And remember, your pre-start meetings are part of your work time. So I want you to think about your planning. I want you to think about the tools that you need. I want you to think about your rescue plan. And I want to see you set up for success. Happy? Capiche?
So comedy, we talk about the setup and the surprise. So that was obviously the surprise for you, all right? So we try and I've basically created a whole bunch of dash hound pictures, dash hounds driving cars, dash hounds with seatbelts on in the back seat, dash hounds working in excavations and trenches, working at heights, using PPE. But people love them, honestly, and I mean it's. Well, I can show you the stats in just a second. So I would post this like amazing research that obviously others have done, not me, and our little Facebook pages that we've got in Queensland, and I'd get 1 or 2 likes, and normally they were mine, and that was kind of not that cool, all right. But people love the dash hound stuff, so we want to keep it going. Here's another little quote. Well, we'll just skip through that though, because I'm getting the flash of light and I want to have a big ending. So here's some of the stuff that you can do tomorrow. Smile and smile again, compliment the audience. Did I not tell you how amazing you all looked? Trust me, it works. I do that in meetings all the time. Tell people, hey, you're working out. You look amazing. And they go, whoa, they love it. Likability, vulnerability, connection. I think I'm pretty good at connecting with people. Try and be energetic. Try and prepare visuals. The easiest way to get a laugh is use the comic triple. Use the rule of 3. But if you don't want to use a comic triple, use something else. You just use it for your training purposes. Sorry. See the world differently. When I was training as a comic, the girl said to me, do you sit in the same seat all the time? I was like, yeah, I do. She said, move, change it. And use a call back during the meeting. If you want some books, here's what you've got here. I use these. These are business-related humour books. These are going to be amazing. Right, okay, your turn. Everybody up. Up, stand up for me, please. Come on, come on. Do you remember Charles said that I wanted to be a pop star? We're going to be pop stars. Can you get actually see those can we wave some use the what do you call them? Lifesavers. Let's go. I'd actually get you. It's because I'm running out of time. We'll do this. Get them waving. All right. So what happens when your favourite pop stars got off the dance floor and onto the shop floor? They become top of the safety cops. Come on. To come on. Oh. I gotta be safe, safe, safe. I gotta be safer, safer, safer. I've never felt this way before. Woo. Baby, it touches like an oven. So Stacey, it hurts. And it wouldn't be Vegas without this guy. A little more conversation, a little impression. Thank you, everybody. That was amazing. Thank you for being such amazing folks. All right. Please reach out to me, grab me, follow me on the socials. Happy to chat anytime. Swap some good stories. Thank you.